1 minute past 8 p.m. in Angusas in the east region of Cameroon. It is 1 minute past 8 p.m. here in Douala. And we begin the primetime news today, the 4th of September, with the headlines. Foreign nationals in South Africa are going through tough times with the concept of xenophobia manifesting itself in broad daylight. Highest hit nations, Nigeria and Zimbabwe. An insight of the situation in the news ahead. Because they are deficient in one aspect does not make them less humans. These are children with hearing deficiency who are back to school like others to be re-educated and inserted into the society. Details of these stories and more up in the news. Please do not go away. We'll be right back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for joining us in this edition of the Primetime News. My name is Mange Venasius. We begin the news like we heard in our lead stories. A number of African countries are currently experiencing one of the most horrific occurrences in human history. This is xenophobia. This has led to the torture and murder of large number of non-nationals living in the countries involved, starting with South Africa. In the following report, Cynthia Ngwemo recounts the occurrence of xenophobia and its widespread in Africa. Her report.
Africa is one of those continents on planet Earth with a rich reputation of hospitality, as anywhere in Africa can be home for Africans from anywhere. In the past years, however, a trend of discrimination, violence, murder, and looting of non-nationals has overshadowed this admirable characteristic of some African countries, turning it from a place of hospitality to that of hostility. Recently in South Africa, xenophobia is the new norm, which is the dislike, hate, or fear of people from other countries. With this practice, a huge number of non-South African nationals resident in South Africa have been brutally attacked, killed, and their properties destroyed or seized. From a recent statistics, Nigerians, Chadians, Zambians, and Zimbabweans are the most common victims of these inhuman treatment, particularly in Johannesburg, with 2 Cameroonians recently burnt alive. Reasons advanced by perpetrators of these abominable acts, amongst many, are the contamination of their culture and the obtention of most available jobs by the strangers. These, however, are no good enough reasons to justify such cruelty. Thus, the retaliation in other African countries like Kenya and Nigeria, where atrocities of the same nature are also being carried out on South Africans. The government and some right-thinking citizens of the various battlegrounds, despite attempts to put a stop to xenophobia through police intervention and the annulment of social activities, only seem to be adding fuel to an already blazing fire. Where then is the African sense of humanity? Where is the sense of right judgment, the most basic that teaches us the love for one another? It all seems to have been corrupted by things that are worth nothing compared to human lives. Added to this worsening situation is the silence of the international community that could be interpreted to mean go ahead xenophobia, and this no doubt will only mean doom for Africa.
Doom indeed, Cynthia, and it is this silence from the international community that Philip Sote in the following report tells us that xenophobic attacks have turned ugly with excessive looting, burnings and killings, while the South African government holds that violent acts perpetrated are criminals in nature rather than xenophobic. The international community is yet to react. Philip Sote.
The current wave of xenophobic attacks on foreign nationals in South Africa could be traced back to calls by some politicians in the country to defend the sovereignty of the state. Community and local leaders incite violence against migrants by blaming local economic conditions on the presence of the non-South Africans. Beyond the argument that foreign nationals take up jobs that should have been occupied by South Africans, the foreign nationals are also being accused of pushing drugs. Rightly or wrongly, politicians claim that foreign nationals are flooding South Africa and undermining the country's security stability, and prosperity. A senior police official in 2017 claimed that the city of Johannesburg alone was 80% being controlled by foreign nationals. Figures that were disputed granted that the population of foreign nationals in the country entirely is said to be less than 2 million out of a population of over 55 million. Meanwhile, latest attacks were marked by a march through Johannesburg's central business district, plundering shops, burning cars and buildings. The South African government insists that these events are not a result of xenophobia, being criminal in nature. But this situation do not seem to have attracted the international community so far. Nigeria, however, has reacted by boycotting the World Economic Forum in Cape Town, while some Nigerian artists have cancelled scheduled performances in the country. History holds that xenophobic attitudes in South Africa have permeated the society and fueled countless xenophobic attacks on non-nationals. Thousands have been harassed, attacked, or killed. Originally concentrated in townships, today it has spread to other areas and even rural areas as well. Towns like the Western Cape, Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Free State, Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and Eastern Cape are also affected. From every indication, xenophobia in South Africa don't seem anywhere closer to a definite halt. More so if politicians continue to blame foreign nationals, asylum seekers, and refugees for many of the social ills and hardships experienced by the majority of South Africans.
We hope that this inhuman act will be quelled by the forces of law and order, and above all, for love of neighbor, because we are each other's neighbor. We leave those horrific scenes and we talk education. 3 days into school resumption, our reporters took a keen interest in children with special need by visiting the Re-Education Center here in Douala to get the atmosphere of school resumption. Williams Amo, who visited the center in the following report, tells us that the participation of these children is a necessity. His report.
3 days into the 2019-2020 academic year, we are at the Re-Education Center for Impaired Children here in New Bell at the Douala 2 municipality. The atmosphere is serene, the children are in class, and of course, as you know, these ones have special needs. The 2019-2020 timid school year reopening did not exclude the Re-Education Center for Impaired Children, CRES, here in Douala. 3 days on, attendance is good, though training is still at the observation stage.
The children came today. Most of them came today because Monday and Tuesday I was not having many children. I started with 3 of them, but as you can see today, there are many of them. And for the moment, I'm still observing because each children is coming with his own behavior. So I have to take time and observe them so that I will know how to cope with each of them.
Although the center has already put in place some initiatives to effectively integrate these children with their regular peers for efficient learning, it is already a daunting task for teachers nurturing these children with special needs. With approximately 4 months for these teachers to successfully nurture them academically, parents definitely have their role in ensuring a blue ink-filled report card by December.
Parents should cooperate with teachers because most of these children, as they are registered, the parents will just disappear. You will not see the beskinner. The teacher will never come again till you say party before you will see a parent. So I'm pleading the parents to please come and meet the teacher so that when I give homework, I have to explain them how they can cope in the house with the children, to explain the homework to them. They should not be the one to do their homework because most of them are writing for the children and it's not good. And they should not also reject them because some of them like this are rejected in the house. That's why they are aggressive. The parents should like them even more than the others because they need it so that they should be calm.
at the Re-Education Center for Impaired Children. I am Williams Amoawa, DBS TV News.
We leave Douala and we move over to the East region, still talking about education. Schools in the Angusas municipalities of the East region have benefited from the minimum package distributed by the Inspectorate of Basic Education in that town. This distribution exercise took place at the Council Hall of Angusas with the participation of all head teachers of primary schools of that subdivision. Details of this story with 10-minute Nam.
The Inspector of Basic Education of Angusas, East Region, Cameroon, has distributed minimum packages to all the primary school teachers in the locality. This didactic material composed of buckets, books, chalks, wheelbarrows, pets, just to name but these. This distribution exercise took place at the Angusas Council Hall. The mayor, Anne-Marie Titsol, presented a speech in which she made mention of the fact that this academic year kicked off hitch-free. She also called on parents who are still keeping their children behind to send them to school because classes are already going on. She also emphasized on the fact that these minimum packages came earlier than previous years that usually come during the second term.
Le paquet minimum arrive dans les mairies.
These minimum packages usually comes during the second term, and that was hold up back then. But now that we have it early enough, it will be easy for us to carry out this distribution at the start of the first time so as to ease the learning process. Now I call on the teachers and head teachers to make good use of the didactic materials offered to them.
The Inspector of Angusas Basic Education thanked the Minister of Basic Education for giving this package on time, and they are also privileged to be one of the first municipality to fulfill this duty for the smooth running of the 2019-2020 academic year.
We hope the academic year would run smoothly in this part of the country, where turnout is still timid, due to some other social reasons. We leave Angusas in the East region and we come over to the Southwest region, precisely in the Meme division, where over 280 stores in the Kumba main markets have been sealed by the government delegate to the Kumba City Council. This is in a bid to stop business operators from respecting any form of lockdown announced by separatist fighters. Evelyn Fominke completes that story in this report.
After several attempts by the Meme Senior Divisional Officer to paralyze the Operation Ghost Town Days in his division, Victor Kelengo, government delegate to the Kumba City Council, says enough is enough.
I think it is too much now that our local economy that depends on the market is really down. And because of that, we were bound to take these measures to ensure that life comes back to the market of Kumba, so that we could also generate our income from this market again. That's the reason why I said enough is enough. Let us go real to business now.
Since the advent of the country Sunday syndrome, the government delegate confirms that K-Town economy has gone down the drain and calls on business operators to stop living in fear and take up the challenge of reviving their businesses.
How long shall we live on fear? We should not. We should always try to come up. To fight for ourselves. Because all of us depend on this market. But if the traders understand what it means, because I think they should understand very well, so they should know that it is not. It doesn't move us closing our markets and then staying at home. It doesn't generate us any income.
Henceforth, the decision from the Kumba City Council states as follows: any store in or out of the Kumba main market found locked in respect for any unauthorized lockdown will be sealed by the government delegate. Defaulters will pay the sum of 25,000 francs and above before reopening, following very authentic and tangible reasons. About 280 stores have been sealed already, and the operation will continue until activities return to normal. According to the government delegate, it is high time K-Towners take back control of their lives.
From Kumba in the southwest region, we move over to the center region. The Executive Committee of the Cameroon Football Federation has put in place a transitional body to run the affairs of the Cameroon Professional Football League. This is the outcome of a meeting that took place yesterday, Tuesday, in Yaoundé. The president of the Cameroon Professional Football League, General Pierre Semengi, has rejected the decision, saying he is ready to go through his mandate at the Cameroon Professional Football League. Afese Apong has details of that story in this report.
The infighting between the Cameroon Football Federation and the Cameroon Professional Football League seems far from over, as a new chapter has been opened in the saga. Barely 2 weeks after suspending the activities of the Cameroon Professional Football League, FECAFOOT, meeting an executive committee on Tuesday at the Federation's headquarters in Chinga, put in place a transitional committee to head the Cameroon Professional Football League. The committee, headed by FECAFOOT's first Vice President Alim Konate, will during their stay try to restructure the Cameroon Professional Football League. As if that was not enough, the president of the Cameroon Professional Football League, General Pierre Semengi, summoned the press late on Tuesday evening at the league's head office. During his exchange with the press, Pierre Semengi declined the post of honorary president of FECAFOOT that was handed to him. General Pierre Semengi also insists that suspending the activities of the Cameroon Professional Football League is in violation of Article 8.2 of the Statutes of FIFA. He says he will defend his mandate as president of the Cameroon Professional Football League after he was voted during the elective General Assembly of 28 July 2016, and his mandate runs till 27 July 2020. He rejected all the resolutions taken during the Executive Committee meeting of FECAFOOT on Tuesday, September 3rd, and called on all the major actors involved in the Cameroon Professional Football League, especially club presidents, not to be distracted. The Cameroon Professional Football League was initially scheduled to kick off on September 1st, 2019, but nothing seems to be happening as the FECAFOOT versus the LFPC saga drags on.
And as it unfolds, we will keep you posted to whatever happens in that saga. At 19 minutes past 8 p.m., we move over to Marwa in the far north region, where the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Celestine Kecha-Krutest, has visited Marwa, thus September 1st, 2019, to see the collapse of the bridges of Mizao and Serawa. Her visit lasted 2 days, and durable solutions were adopted in collaboration with the authorities of the region. The Vanessa Shuyong has details.
Celestine Kecha-Krutest, Minister of Housing and Urban Development, was in Marwa for a 2-day visit to take stock of the collapse of the Mizao Bridge and the Serawa Bridge in Tukumbere. Her reaction was an envelope coming from the head of state to start work without delay.
So the head of state has authorized that Minepat put in place a line of more than 1.5 billion to go through a sustainably solution. So next week we'll start a new bridge for Marwa 1 and Marwa 2.
During her visit on the field, the minister was able to appreciate the state of these infrastructures and noted that the link between Marwa 1 and Marwa 2 road has already been established. She, however, expressed her dissatisfaction on the unhygienic state and dilapidated state of road in the town.
You don't need 1 billion or 100 million to make your city clean. You don't need 1 billion or 1,000 billion to make people move easily from one part to another. We have many companies working here. How can they don't sit with the local authorities and decide that this is the planning to address?
Instructing government authorities of the region to make arrangements to solve the issue.
I've instructed the mayor with the delegate to use the engagement and the availability of the governor to make sure that as from now, next 2 weeks, people can move in Marwa without any problem.
Regarding the emergency work to rebuild the Mayo Kaliao Bridge, the minister was happy with the works already done.
I'm very happy on the work that has been done on the beach of Kalao, Mayo Kalaya, because last year at this time many houses were in water, and today things has been done and people are quiet in their house.
It is hoped that in weeks to come, these bridges will have been reconstructed to ease the transportation of people into the different subdivisions.
A pat on the back, Madam Minister. We leave Marua and come down to Garua in the North region, where Garua 2 Council in that part of the country is one of the winners of the 3rd edition of FEICOM National Award for 2019. The award of over 50 million francs CFA will be used to improve the living conditions of women within that municipality, as Jalo Buba completes that story in this report.
Inhabitants of Garwa 2 Council will henceforth enjoy better facilities in economic and social domains, especially the female fold. This is as a result of the 2019 FEICOM Award prize of 50 million francs CFA won by the municipality. According to the mayor of the Sept Council, he put up a project to improve the conditions of women, taking into account that women have serious dependency on the men for the economic and social needs, thereby rendering them vulnerable. Empowering them economically, therefore, remains the prime preoccupation of councils in general and that of Garwa 2 in particular. How well the 50 million going to be shared out is still a question to be answered. But nonetheless, the mayor says he is fully aware of the fact that the women are organized in associations of about 271 groups, in which they make monthly contributions ranging from 200 francs to 10,000 francs CFA. Bringing these groups to form a cooperative is a better option. Already with 50 million in hand, other funders can be looked for to realize the dream.
And in sports, tonight, the Indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon yesterday played a 0-all draw with Ethiopia in the return leg second round qualifiers for the Olympic Games. Despite the draw, Cameroon progresses to the next round of qualifiers. Highlights of that game with Afese Apong from Yaoundé.
The Indomitable Lionesses dominated proceedings in the first segment of the game, with Catherine Bingono, Michaela Ambama and Captain Gabriela Budiongeni missing clear-cut opportunities to raise the curtains. A 42nd minute error from Esther Laura Johnson almost gifted the Ethiopians the lead as Demai's snap shot hit the woodworks. The Indomitable Lionesses created little impact in the second half as they were always caught wanting in front of goal. The Ethiopians looked dangerous on set pieces, but both sides will end the game with 10 players following red cards to Gabriela Budiongeni and Fameria Mesulu. Coach Alain Jonfa was happy his side has qualified for the next round of the Olympic qualifiers, but admitted that they had serious problems getting the last passes.
You know, they played their first match in our country since 2 years. You know, they are fit for the match, and during the match we have seven occasions, but at the last pass we have a problem. But I think it's because we never have a lot of time to work together. Next time I think it's the best.
The 0-all score is the first time the Indomitable Lionesses have failed to score at the Amadou Aidjo Stadium in the past 3 years, so much to the disappointment of some fans.
It's really frustrating because Ethiopia is not the best team, with all due respect, in the African continent, and when you're playing against teams like Ethiopia and you're Cameroon, you should be picking up the results. I know we are through to the next round, but my worry is when we start getting the bigger sides, when we start getting the sides like Nigeria, what happens then? Because the AFCON is coming up 2020, and this team last time out, I was really happy, though they did not get to the finals and win it, but I was happy with their performance. But my worry is when we get to the bigger teams, how are we going to survive?
The Indomitable Lionesses have, however, booked a place for the third round of the Olympic qualifiers thanks to away goal advantage, and will face the Democratic Republic of Congo in the next round of qualifiers.
And that is how we saw it in this edition of the Primetime News. A news in which we were informed of the horrific, inhumane acts that are going on in South Africa. We are talking of xenophobia, and we equally were informed about children with special needs that have resumed education to be re-educated and be inserted into the society. Keep watching programs here on DBS television. The next newscast will be coming up at 9 p.m. in the French language with Luc Serge Didier Nang. I will be back again tomorrow at 8 p.m. for what would have made news. Until then, have a blessed day. Goodbye.